I hear you, yes. So this is very informal. And we'll go on. We have the room until 5 o'clock, and so we can go as long as we want to. And here's Joyce Silver, yay! All right. Okay, well, I think we all know each other pretty much in here. But what I'm going to go ahead and do, and that is I'm going to introduce Lauren Nile, and she is going to moderate us today. And then what we'll do is people speak. Pardon me?
I do not want to be moderated.
Well, okay, I understand that.
We're off to a good start, Ralph.
But somebody has to be the leader, you know. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? Okay, good. All right, well, Lauren, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you. And this is informal, relaxing, supposed to be, and free and easy. All right, here you go, Lauren. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. So, good afternoon, everybody. And thanks for coming. I know some of you in this room are very busy, so thank you, Joy, for making time out of your very busy schedule. Thank you to my wonderful wife, who has to go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning again, for coming, even though you work today and have to work again tomorrow. Thank you, honey. And let's all give a round of applause, as always, to our founder and former president, Charlie.
2004.
Yes.
Yeah, we started in that swimming pool right out there.
Wow, wow. And you see what you did, Charlie? Thank you.
Baptismal, wasn't it?
So again, thanks everybody for coming out. This is really Ralph's brainchild. Ralph said, you know what, we need a forum where Democrats can get together and talk about what we're feeling, what we're thinking, what we're experiencing, because so many of us have such deep feelings in terms of our fears, our frustrations, our anger, and we just need a safe space to just get it out. And also ask any questions that people might have, which, of course, I will likely not have the answers to, but I'm hoping we can share each other's wisdom in the room. So the way I have this, the way I've sort of envisioned this session, and I'm about to turn off, I have alarms set for every one of the time frames, but I think that's going to be rather annoying. So I'm going to turn them off in just a second. But I thought we would start off with, well, the first half of this afternoon would be comments, for people to just share their thoughts and their feelings about what is going on. How are you feeling about what's happening right now? What are your thoughts about it? And really, what I'd like to do is just call on people. And I'm asking that we try to avoid commenting on what the other person said, and just share our own feelings, because it's really not a discussion as much as a chance to just get out whatever it is that's inside of us. And then we'll have time for discussion, but the first part is just, I'm going to call on that person, and yes, please, just what's going on with you? Where are you? And then, after about 30 minutes of that, we'll have 5 minutes of what I call pair shares, because, you know, not everybody is comfortable speaking in a large group, so for about 5 minutes, I'll offer you the opportunity to speak to the person or persons sitting next to you, so you can share more privately if you're more comfortable with that. And then after that first half, we'll have a second half of questions for each other. Ralph and I might have some information that we can share, but my guess is that if this group is like most groups, there's much more wisdom in the audience than there is at the front of the room. And then, again, pair shares for 5 minutes at the end, and then we'll have some closing, just a brief closing statement from Ralph and from myself. Does that sound okay? Yes, we have a question.
Oh. Microphone.
Somebody showed me how to use it. I would be willing to trade Donald Trump 2 to 3 hots in a cup.
I hear you.
I said it. If somebody showed me how to use a gun, I would trade it for 3 hots in a cut and use it on Trump.
Wow. So we're into it already.
Well,
we've started.
Democrats are typically against guns, you know. We don't like the NRA, but maybe we'll make an exception.
All right. So, yes, we're off to a running start. Yes, sir, let's start. Let's get into the comments section, please.
Tell people who you
I'll
are.
be brief.
Just, yeah, tell people who you are.
Okay, I didn't know. Some of you I know, Tony Harris is my name.
He's a neighbor.
And I've been here about 5 years, and I'll be very brief, but I want you to know something. This is what I'm bothered by. When I was younger, I was a high school history teacher, and my favorite part of history was Roman Empire and America during the Second World War. Now, here's an analogy that I see now that I used to teach and think about. When Adolf Hitler started his rise, he purged the military of anybody who would stand up to him, and he surrounded himself by kiss-ass sycophants who will never stand up to him. And what I'm worried about right now is that with Donald Trump, I see the same thing happening. Now, is Norma here? Norma Spear?
I don't think so.
Well, anyway, I talked to her a few days ago, and she was saying, we should write our congressman and call the governor. You know what? It's too late for that. Something else has to be done. I don't know what it is. I'm not a politician. So Henry and I were talking the other day, and he just mentioned something about the military. Well, maybe it's going to be time for the military to do something and step up to the plate and get rid of this crazy man. Donald Trump and this Musk are the two most dangerous people in this country right now, in the world.
And sir, I'm going to ask you if you would please to, share your point with us so that we can go to another person.
Yeah, no, that's all I wanted to share with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you sure? I don't.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to share. That's what I was feeling.
Yeah. No, well, and I think a lot of people agree with you too. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Thank you.
Just me sharing just after that, he talked about Rome. Well, I almost think that we have Caligula is now in the White House. We all know how bad he was. All right.
Who else would like to share your thoughts? Or yes.
I'm Paulette Quaid. I've been here for 22 years, and I think the inmates are running the asylum. And the main thing I want to say is that I keep hearing Democrats saying to Democrats, we need to change our message, but I'm not sure what that is. So maybe somebody here knows what we should do and shouldn't do and say and shouldn't say, because our message isn't working.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree.
Well, I have a long list. Well, mostly I'm kind of solution oriented, and so for me, the only thing I think of is what can we do, because we all know what we're up against. I mean, you'd have to be blind not to be. Anyway, so with regard to the Democrats, I think we need to develop alliances with groups that are in line with the way we think. I mean, the one common denominator among Democrats is that we care for the little guy, and we've broken up so much. We have the left wing who was very much pro-Palestinian, and it bothered the Jewish wing and the conservative wing, and we need to coalesce, find that common place that all of us can work together to clean this up, and then deal with all the little nuances of the party. And that's as much as I can.
Thank you, Linda.
Anybody else?
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Alan Carvalho. From Cathedral City. we all know the problem. You know, we all know it. We could talk about it until, you know, it's midnight. I think what we need to do is find solutions, obviously. And the solution for me is amongst our Democratic comrades. We need to tell truth to power, because there are things happening in the Democratic Party that we need to fix, which is telling the truth, supporting candidates that are worthy of our support, not having favoritism, not supporting candidates that are not Democrats. Okay, there are people here in this room that have done that. We need to help each other get clarity about who the other people we need to support. We don't need leaders telling us how to think. I'm not a leader telling you how to think. We need to rely less on people that run these clubs, respectfully, you know, Ralph, that we need to really rely on each other and talk, like you just said, Linda, about talking amongst each other. There's a tendency to this Republican group, the MAGA group, they're looking for daddy. They found daddy. They don't want to think for themselves. They want somebody to power over them, like Putin. So this is why this has happened. But my feeling is it's up to us to take our power back. Okay? Stop relying on others we're not going to find solutions with other leaders. We have to become the leaders that we want to become. Okay, so that is really up to us to speak at city council meetings, gather together like this meeting. Ralph, these are hard shoes to fill. Charlie is a very hard act to follow. So kudos to you for stepping up. That's a big deal. So you need to be congratulated. You need to be respected for that. While I say that, because I can speak to you openly, because that's what we created here, I want to know what the agenda is for videotaping public comments, public meetings. As you know, we had a bit of a disagreement, and I would like that cleared up so that others that want to capture this on video know what the rules are. So tell me what they are.
Okay. Well,
Do you have a mic here?
Yeah. When we first started, I was not aware of the rules regarding videotaping, you know, and so now I am. So we can go ahead and videotape as we wish, you know, if people don't want to have their faces to be seen, then we can figure that out, you know, as far as where they're sitting or what have you. But I'm okay with videotaping because when I first started as president, I was learning. There was a lot of things I didn't know, and probably still is. It's always learning every day. And so, you know, we're turning a new leaf now. Now we have 2025. We're going to unite as Democrats, even though in the past we've had differences of opinion. That's now in the past. Now is the time to unite and to focus on our common enemy, as well, like I said before, because, you know, united we stand, divided we fall, and we have to be united. And that's my...
The only thing I wanted to just add to, thank you. The only thing I wanted to add to, I'm sorry?
Could you please tell the background to the videotaping issue? What is it that they'll be used for?
I have a husband that can't make it. Any public meeting can be videotaped. That's the rules. That's true. That whether it's city council meeting or a county meeting, anything that the public can attend, and this is an open meeting that anybody can attend, it can be videotaped.
I'm not against it.
No, I understand. Well, there's the president that would explain it to you, but when I talked with Charlie, he said it never should have been stopped. You know, I'm not the enemy. I'm not a Republican spying on this group. I was doing it for my own purposes.
Okay,
but
what
I
I'd like
also
to
want
do
make sure,
is ask if this discussion
that's all
maybe
good.
be tabled and we do it after the meeting so that we can
Absolutely.
continue with public comment?
Got it, yeah.
Okay.
So all I wanted to add is that I think it's important for us to know what we feel and say what we feel and not hold back. It's
Right.
really important. But do it respectfully. You
Yes.
know, I understand we have disagreements. We need to, if you make a choice.
And then I'm
we
going
all
to
make
ask you to give the
choices.
mic to another person
I will,
pretty
but
soon.
let me just finish one
Yep,
second,
please
because I come
do.
from Cathedral City. I'm going to be leaving shortly. So,
Sure.
what I want to say is that when you are a part of a club, you have a right to your vote. But if you're a leader of the club, you don't get to speak for the club. Okay? We have a council member in Cathedral City, a Republican, who got on the air on television to say that he voted for Trump. He has a right to vote for whoever he wants. He doesn't get to be a city council member announcing that in our city as if he's representing the city. That is wrong and against the law and against the rules.
Yeah.
So those here that are leaders in positions, they can have their choices in there, but they can't speak for the club. You have board members that have to vote.
And the same thing is true for Chad Bianco, too.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. Well, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Who's next?
Thanks, Alan. Appreciate all those comments.
Yes, Alan. Very good comments. Thank you.
Okay. So
Next.
who else would like to have a moment here? Anybody else? Okay,
here-
why don't we pick
Oh,
Faye?
oh.
We'll come back to
Oh,
you,
I'm sorry.
Linda.
I'm sorry.
But let's go ahead.
And Charlie had his hand up as
And
well.
Charlie, of course. Yeah, go ahead, Faye.
Thank you. I actually live in the Monterey Country Club, and I'm still a member here. You're pumped to the Greens, and you've been doing a great job all the way around, all of you, to be congratulated. And what I'm feeling now is worry and fear. I'm a retired federal employee, and I'm going to be hit with reduction of this, reduction of that, elimination of this, and the other elimination of that. And I've been calling a representative, leaving messages, and of course, he votes the way he wants to. And I think what I feel in my heart is what we've been losing is that we are, as Lincoln said, a government of the people, by the people, for the people, not for that so-and-so in the White House. But unfortunately, we have all these members in Congress who are afraid for whatever it is they're afraid of, and they're going to vote for whatever. And some of them actually do believe in some of the policies, that they're the right policies. But I like you say, what we're doing and what they're telling us to do, call your representative, et cetera, right? And I don't know if it's having any effect. Is it? And I'm wondering what else you can do, other than, march to Washington. But I know that's been done before too. So I would like to hear if somebody's got something really creative about what we can do and make an answer, have an answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought about that because we have to have some type of political activism as a result of this meeting to push things for our agenda forward with the powers that be. And we're going to always have this meeting at the end of the last Wednesday of the month at 3:30 p.m. here in this Palm Room. And so that's going to be ongoing because I think people really need it, a place to voice their concerns. And so the only thing I would ask is between now and the next meeting, if each person could do 2 political activism actions. And those can include calling a representative and leaving a voicemail message. That can include calling, of course, heaven forbid, Calvert. But anyway, but he needs to do count those calls, And so then also writing a postcard or writing a letter. Do something tangible to do it. And doing 2 things between now and next meeting is something I think we all could do. So I'm committing to that, maybe more. So anyway, that's my answer to Faye's question about what can we do. So thank you, Faye.
And then we had Linda and then Charlie.
I am wondering if you can hear me better without the echo. Can you hear me all right?
No, better. Can you use the mic, please, Charlie?
You want me to use the mic?
Thank you.
I can turn down the echo.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
I wanted to follow up on Paulette's suggestion of messaging. I want to follow up on Paulette's message, the whole question of message. Do we realize all the opposition there was to same-sex marriage until somebody came up with the expression, the right to marry the person you love? That almost immediately changed the dialogue. It opened up a lot of people's mind because it was the correct message. And I think, even though I was frustrated trying to call Rachel Maddow the other day, I was thinking that the message should be the Republican administration stop using the expression Trump. We hear that word so often, and it may be sexy, and it may create a lot of good ratings for the programs, but it's really, Trump has power because he has Republicans behind him. So the more we can use the expression, the Republican administration. So maybe as an action, this group could write a letter if we figure out how you communicate with it. So and along those lines of messaging, on the whole immigration issue, we got to stop using the term illegal. The Republicans have figured out a way. They'll say illegal, 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 illegal. These are undocumented brothers and sisters, and we need for that expression to be all over the place. I mean, we are, undocumented, that means there's a lot of room for all these individual situations of family separation. There's so many different configurations. You can't dump everybody, and if you're going to punish criminals, well, that's all right, but there are criminals who are documented and there are criminals who are undocumented, or legal or illegal, So I am very glad, Paulette, that you brought up this message, and that maybe this group, as an action, can figure out how to get to our messaging to people that are creating the message, right? The right to marry the person you love. Boy, that rang a bell with everybody, regardless of their prejudice, because it gives the bigger picture, All right. So anyway, I'm talking too much. So it's nice to be here. God bless everybody.
Thank you, Charlie.
Okay. What I notice about the Republican Party is it feels like the message is what's in it for you. And I think a lot of people identify with the Trumps and the Musks because they hope that one day they could be like that. And maybe we're not doing that enough. Maybe we're busy saying, oh, it's hurting this guy, and this person is suffering, and that person. We need to tell them they're going to be suffering, because they are. Everybody that's been removed from government employ is now unemployed. And you fill the market with thousands of unemployed, skilled people, and you give the companies it's supply and demand. The companies have more choice, and so they lower their income. So it is going to hurt the voter of the Trump voter very much. So I think that should be our message. I think Kamala Harris did it very well when she said, "You are my boss. Trump is not my, Trump wants it to be, he's the boss." She said it well, and I don't know why it didn't carry, but she said it, she maybe should have said it more often, because he does repeat himself a lot. And the other thing I want to bring up in my case is I have the ideas that I could speak truth to power, but I'm really scared. And I think a lot of people don't act out of fear. Even though I may not respect the power I'm speaking to, I'm still intimidated by it. So that feeling, I think, if we could deal with that feeling, find a way to get past that feeling, we might draw more people in. Getting out on the street, carrying a sign. These are things a lot of people don't feel comfortable with. Calling up, my voice quivers when I talk to the person on the other end, even though they're not the politician I'm criticizing. So I have to admit that, and I think that may be the case with some others.
Thank you, Linda. I had a thought myself, so I'll interject here, and that is, And I have this listserv that I sometimes send emails to, and I've told everybody on my listserv that I think one of the most powerful things we can do is economic boycotts, national economic boycotts. I mean,
One on Friday.
yeah, I know. Please don't buy anything on Friday. It's not a boycott day, it's a blackout day. That means nothing. Don't go to a restaurant. Don't spend any money on Friday. And there are others.
As much as,
Yes.
local businesses, maybe mom and pop.
Oh.
But not this time.
Right.
Good.
Yeah, and I as I shared with the folks on my listserv, I saw it work very, very well during the Civil Rights Movement. I was a child during the Civil Rights Movement, and I grew up in New Orleans, and we were battling segregation. I was 11 in '64 when the Civil Rights Act passed, so I remember it well. And I remember the adults. I was young, but I was interested enough to sort of get what the adults were saying, and they were talking about how the boycotts were bringing Schwegman's supermarket chain to its knees, and the Zales, Zales Jewels on Canal Street. I mean, they were literally bringing these businesses to their knees, and as a result, it was the New Orleans NAACP and the New Orleans Urban League, pretty much got everything they wanted. Because they were asking for, what were they asking for? Stop discriminating. So I have seen the power of economic boycotts. Of course, we all know what happened in India when Gandhi organized national boycotts of all British-made products, how he forced the British to the negotiating table and basically said, when the British Viceroy said, what would you have us do? He said, leave. And they did leave. They had to walk out because it was, they were losing too much money. So that's one thing I think we can all do. Cesar Chavez, yes, with the grapes. Yeah, we have many examples, actually. Thank you, Ralph. So when you hear or when someone emails you or talks to you about a boycott on a certain day, there's one of Amazon for a whole week. There are a number of them that have already been organized. Please, please, please take them seriously and participate in them, because if they don't hear our voices, as I shared with some people, we have to make our voices heard still loudly and clearly, but I don't know that demonstrations and rallies have the same impact they had when I was a kid. I don't think the people in the White House give a squat about demonstrations. In fact, Marjorie Taylor Greene just said it today on the Hill. You remember? Go ahead and protest, but we're still going to... Anyway, to make a long story short, we have to still do it, but it's when we hit them in their pockets that they really hear us. So please participate in any boycotts that you hear about. So, who's next? Yeah.
I wanted to ask. Go ahead. Does anyone here know the answer to, because I don't know anything about this, can the present administration, see, I didn't say the T word, can they do something about our Social Security and about our tax, our tax refunds or anything now? Does anyone know? I can't find out anything.
Well, I stopped removing, I have a pension, and they were removing my taxes. I'm not removing them anymore. I'm going to wait till the end of the year, and it's already there, but I don't know what else to do with regard to that, except not pay taxes and then end up in jail, of course. But, we're all in jail.
And so
I don't think they-
what I'm going to do is ask that let me just see. We may be ready to move on now. We're going to have comments followed by questions, but I don't want to be too rigid with this. If we're ready to move on to questions, or if you prefer to just mix it up, we can do that. But yes, sir, please.
Go ahead, Chris. Hold it up to your mouth.
Thank you, Ralph. I'm Chris Parman, and one of the things when I think about at the national level of kind of the problem we have is we obviously still have a national problem of misogyny. So you can see that, in 2016, Hillary Clinton lost, 2024, Kamala lost. And it doesn't, and a lot of people say, well, it's because she was a woman, person of color. Well, person of color obviously wasn't the issue because Obama won in 2008. So then if you do your deductive reasoning, it's a misogyny issue. When it comes to local politics, I think that we really, as Democrats, have to look ourselves in the mirror. And I think that when somebody runs for political office, it should be somebody of the highest character and somebody that doesn't have criminal records. And because then we are no better than the other side. So I would propose that we do a better job vetting candidates, so that when we find out that they do have a criminal record, it should be known to all Democrats so that they have a better chance of picking the better candidate. And when we stop vetting our own candidates, then we have a problem because we become no better than they are. So those are my kind of 2 points.
Thank you. Any more comments?
Well, I have a comment.
Yes, please.
And that is, with Charlie's comment about marriage, I always go back to the old adage, would you ever get a divorce? And I would say, divorce, never. Murder, yes. I'm just kidding. All right, that's the comedy moment. Okay, so anybody else want to say something? Faye.
Thank you. This is what you are going to want to hear, but I am reluctant to do the boycott because I'm thinking that the people we're hurting is everybody, even the people who support us or who we support. And I don't see how this is going to affect change if we're boycotting everybody and anybody. Selective boycotting, I could get to. But whether it's there's these big industries that have dumped their millions and millions of dollars into the Trump campaign and supporting him and what his policies out of just wanting to get something in return, obviously. And those are the ones I would boycott. But our neighborhood mom and pop stores or just people who are working in these stores, they're going to think they're our neighbors too and they're friends, and I think we're hurting too many people that way. That's my opinion.
Yes, thank you for that. And as it turns out, I mean, they are. These boycotts are really sort of specific. For example, no Amazon purchasing within the week of so-and-so. Don't buy from Target on this date. Don't buy from Walgreens on that date. But I hear your point, though. In terms of local mom and pop shops, yeah, we don't want to hurt our neighbors. They're asking that we not buy anything. But the flip side of that is that we do hurt, local businesses who had nothing to do with any of this. So I do hear that as well. Yeah. Thank you.
I disagree.
Oh, okay.
The way I feel about it is, we're talking one day. And it's really a statement to say, if you don't listen to the voters, we will continue to boycott. So let one day of nobody getting business to see how it affects just one day. We can all go without a latte. We can all go without groceries for one day. And I'm sorry about the locals. But if the locals understood the power of boycotting and would get what they wanted, to give up one day of sales, to have our liberty and freedom back, they would gladly give up that one day of sales. I'm just telling you that this is a very, very powerful way to protest. And it's a peaceful way of protesting, and it's an effective way to protest. So as I agree with you, I don't want to hurt anybody, but the other team wants to hurt everybody. You understand? They want to hurt everybody. The poor, the minorities, the women, gays, they want to hurt everybody. So we only want to hurt nobody, but one day, if anybody's hurt, sorry, that's one day, not a lifetime. Thank you.
I think it's the same as when the Hispanics didn't work for one day.
Yeah.
And they said, this is what it's like if we don't show up for work.
Right.
And it hurt a lot of
Cesar
people.
Chavez.
The movie A Day Without a Mexican, that movie really showed that. Yeah.
That they did that again. Just
I know.
recently they didn't show up.
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Hand
Jane.
over here. Thank you.
I'm Jane Edgett, and I've lived here for 20 years. I read a story this morning. I'm a fiber person. I like to weave and spin. One of my teachers and admirer, one of my people that I admire, is John Marshall, who is a specialist in Japanese techniques. Okay, he wrote an email today that said, back in 1972, when he was an exchange student to Japan, he was opening his bank account, and he was taken into the bank and met by this lovely woman who engaged him, and they talked, and he filled out the papers, and at the end, he was given this lovely present, a toaster. And as it turned out, it was a wonderful toaster. And so he went on his way, and he wondered why so many people were getting these toasters, because a lot of the people that he met, the women that he met, were sprouting up with these toasters. And it seemed that in 1972, there was a group of housewives and mothers who were objecting to the mercury poisoning that was happening with youngsters. The company that produced the food that contained the mercury was supported by the government, and nobody would do anything. So a group of angry housewives confronted the politicians, and they said, it's just a bunch of crazy women, okay? So they kept opening up new accounts quietly, one by one, by one, by one. And they began to wonder, why were all these people opening accounts, bank accounts? And they couldn't figure it out. So they singled out the women that had been objecting, and one of them finally said, well, it's just that we didn't like what was happening. But she would never name any of the other people because she didn't know them. But she said, it was because you were killing our children. And 2 weeks later, the company that produced the food for the children was out of business. End of story. That's what boycotts can do. That's what objections can do.
Sure. Boycotts are powerful. And it may be, in fact, our only weapon. We'll see. Yes, Joy.
I like the boycotts. I do. And I understand that it can hurt the smaller people that work, but I think Alan's right. We had a day where if you're an LGBT person and you don't work for that one day, there goes the arts, all of the industries that we were involved in. And we did some of that, I think. But I have my own private boycott thing going on. There's an app called Goods. And I will bring that app and I download it, and it's on my phone. And when I decide what store I'm going to go to, I check and see what their Democrat to Republican percentage is. I'll tell you who's got a really high, almost like through the roof Democratic blue percentage, and that's Trader Joe's. I don't go to Kroger's. I go to Trader Joe's, even when it's inconvenient. I don't care. Even if it's just for milk or whatever, I'll go all the way to Joe's from my house because more Democrat. I never buy anything from Amazon, and I never watch Prime, ever. Haven't done it for years. Won't buy from them because Bezos is off his frickin' rocker, and he's gotten worse today. So don't do anything like that. So Costco's good, but Joe's is even higher. And so they'll tell you the percentage of Democrats to Republican, and then they'll say support or boycott. And then you can decide, is it too red for you? Is it even? Is it just under? You can make a decision based on the percentages that they upload. So I find it really helpful. But this has been going on for me for a long time. So maybe I'm not, there's a boycott where there's a blackout, but then there's where do I spend my money, period. So that's my larger mission.
Thank you very,
It's
very
called
much.
Goods. Goods.
GODS.
GOODS, yeah, and it looks like a little microphone. It's a blue app, and it looks like a microphone.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you.
Two O's.
Very important.
Yeah.
And does that apply to banks also?
I never looked up. Yes, yes, and believe it or not, and this really floored me. I thought, well, I use Chase, and I'm thinking, oh, that's bad. It isn't. It's way blue compared to other banks. I was shocked. I was like, phew. That would have had to change. But it does have it, and it has brand names in it. And if you're finding it now, Alan, you'll see it's really, yeah, it's very, very cool because it will tell you every brand. It'll show you, the sub-brands, everything.
Thank you, Joy. Wow, that's worth its weight in gold. Thank you. Like you say, boycotts are great, but your everyday spending. Thank you, Joy.
Yes, that's very good.
So we can. Well, I know the Walton family is among the worst. So, we can move into questions now and just be fluid with it. Yes, please.
Nicole, yeah.
I let people know why I'm not shopping at them. It's not just I stopped going there, but I tell them, starting with the manager, and they say, well, what do you want me to do? And I said, well, first, maybe you could let me meet all your people who are working here. And they can know why I stopped buying groceries here, or why this or why that, and what can they do. And I personally offered to a lot of businesses to get together and help them, and I would like to offer that here if you want to do. When people are making racist comments, whatever comments that really feel wrong to you, don't stay silent. But people say, well, what do I do? How do I do it? And that is what I teach people. For example, if somebody says, just because I heard this last 2 weeks ago, just because he's black, he doesn't have a right to walk in and says how to run their business. And I said, okay, well, what would you do? And what do you think, it's only a black person goes and tells them how to run their business or how to respond to them? Well, I think so. Well, let's talk about that. How many black people did you hear said that? How many black people do you know? How many black friends do you have? And that is what I am asking you, to continue dialogues. And if you don't know how, I would like to offer some information that I do. I can give you statements, how you can respond to things. That's my business. And I'm not saying that you hire me or anything, but I do that because I come from a world where I had to be hidden for years because my family was Jewish. So, no, I'm not black, but I understood and know that, etc., etc. So if we could, first of all, if this group, our Democratic group, would be very clear, because I'm not, what we stand for, and how do we speak about what we stand for.
Yes, like a mission statement.
Yes, a mission statement, but also how would you respond to racist, sexist, whatever comments? I'm looking for hearing that.
Yes, and then I want to say this is Nicole, and she's a Holocaust survivor, and she does a lot of talking around Coachella Valley, and she's going to come to our meeting soon and give her presentation. We'd be very honored to have you there, Nicole. But you're right. We need to have and that's funny because today I was somebody, I think it was somebody from the DHQ. They gave a list of when you're talking to Trump supporters, you know, of all the things that, how the country's going to be affected by the things that Trump is doing, and would you support this? Now, of course, we don't want to get into any arguments with anybody, you know, because that's just a brick wall. But there's things out there of how you can appropriately respond very effectively if you have all of these you know, points in your head about, and you can use them as an appropriate time, like weapons in your at your side. So.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was just sharing with Barbara that a friend of mine wrote a book on how to be a white teacher of anti-racism. It's a wonderful book. But anyway, he was sharing that he had taught a class, this was some years ago, on how to be an effective ally, which is, I think, part of what you're talking about. And he said he had taught his class, and then the next day a student came to class and was like, you know, Dr. Straighten, I got to share this with you. She said, I worked at the movie theater last night taking tickets, and there I was, you know, in the window, and there was a person of small stature who could be easily intimidated, perhaps, and she was next in line, and she was an Asian American woman, and the person behind her was a large, I don't know, 40-something white male, and he reached his arm over her to give his money. And I remember what you said in class, and I was able to say, sir, this woman was here first. And she said, and it felt so good. She said, because otherwise, had I not had that class, I'd have just probably taken his money, you know. So yes, there are ways in which we can definitely learn how to be an ally, certainly with regard to race and religion and gender, anytime we hear those kinds of comments, and certainly how to speak up as Democrats, clearly and concisely. Absolutely, and we need that. So I look forward to hearing your presentation.
Yes.
Thank you. That's very important. Thank you. Yes.
I'll be glad to, and I'll give you some sentences that you can
Yes.
easily.
Yes.
If nothing else, if somebody says, like I told you, somebody said something, and I would say, yeah, tell me a little bit more about that. Instead of fighting. And then they A, say surprised, or they going on.
Yeah.
And then we can have a dialogue.
Right. Yes. Thank you for that. Very important. Thank you. Other comments?
I have a suggestion.
And we did have one more
we
comment.
did.
Yes.
Who wanted to comment?
Anybody else want to have a comment? I have one.
You want to? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to comment on win-win situations in terms of boycotts. As some of you know, I was a parish priest back in the 1960s, very active in the farm labor movement, and we organized women with gray hair to go into their local supermarkets and say, hey, we will not shop in this market unless you have union picked grapes. And we succeeded in having a meeting with the chief executive of Mayfair Markets, which is like Ralph's or Albertsons, one of those now, and they said, okay, if you can supply us with enough union picked grapes, we will not have non-union picked grapes on sale here. And they made that agreement, but the agreement included the ability to go into the back rooms of these supermarkets to make sure that the grapes they had were union picked grapes. So it was kind of a win-win situation, you know, that kind of moved things ahead. So sometimes that's what we need to do, is make compromises so that everybody feels they have gotten something. We don't get everything we want, but we get something and we move forward. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Charlie.
You would have been a perfect one to go on there to talk to the manager. Say, hey, I got 10. I have 10 kids, and I shop here and spend a couple $100. I won't shop here if you don't have union pick.
Thank you.
Because just not showing up, they don't know anything. Then
Right. Correct. Yes, they have to know.
All right.
You said something, do you mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
That I am afraid. I heard you saying I am afraid. And I wonder, what is the fear from?
I don't know, when it's someone of power, and I know they have power, regardless of my respect or lack of respect for them, I can't speak up. I end up putting my foot in my mouth and I'm pulling my foot out. You know, I
Okay,
say all
well,
the wrong things.
if you want a little time here, when I'm gonna bring you like sentences, but also we can talk about what are we afraid of. And that will be helpful, I think.
I think so. I think so as well. I do have a thought about that, but let me recognize Joy first.
After all this time, you don't recognize me. I just wanted to say something about rallies for a second, because I do love a good rally, I have to say. But the rally is not, from my perspective now, it's just my own opinion and my experience with a rally. It isn't for people to see people in the streets, because God knows we tried to stop the United States from going into Iraq. I mean, there were millions of people in every single city all the time, and we all over the world. We couldn't stop it. However, the rally is not for them. The rally is for us.
Right on.
Because when we stand at a rally, you're not by yourself. You don't feel afraid. You're with people who are of the same mind. You get to scream and shout and say things on your poster you might not be able to say, but you can write it. It really is inspirational, and it shows there's a lot of us out there. And that's for us, not for them. So it's an empowering moment. I find it that way. So I'm all for the rallies because of that.
Learn something else today. Thank you, Joy.
I want to agree with that wholeheartedly because I experienced several rallies, and I think when you get the response from the public, blowing their horns, waving, and that really inspires you and makes you feel, well, this is good, this is right, and they agree too. We're not alone in this. So I think it's a good feeling.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I have to add something. You know, that it's a movement, but it's also our church. It's a spiritual experience, because in that moment, you're part of something bigger than yourself. And the whole concept of what is spiritual for me is when I get to experience myself and bigger and part of something, so that I'm part of something bigger than just myself. And that is our moment. You know, we don't have necessarily the 412 Church, which is the Christian Nationalist Church, ginning up the opposition, right? But we have those rallies, and we have the moment where we see we're not alone, and I think that's a critical thing, because we are part of us.
Thank you, Joy.
Okay.
Yes, I think that is so important. Yeah, thank you.
Meetings like this today are somewhat like that, coming together like-minded, that we can talk to each other and vent. And I was going to open it up to anybody that wants to talk about the latest Trump debacle, but we're just not going to do that. I shouldn't say Trump, but anyway, because we have a lot of people right there. Okay, so thank you for coming today.
Well, are there any other questions?
Yes.
Because we have the room till 5.
Right, we do.
Are there any other questions? Yes, please, Linda.
I'd like to know if anybody here is involved in helping the migration situation, the deportation. I happen to know of this one mobile home park, Oasis, where they shut off the water. And they shut it off apparently many months ago, and the people in the park are immigrants who are afraid to make a stink about it. And it happens to be on Native American land, but the lady who owns it is, I don't know if she's Native American, but so there's some legal complications with it. So anyway, I was asked to bring it up so that maybe we can come up with some ideas of what to do, maybe even do a rally around there so that the people living there don't have to be involved in the rally because they don't want to be subject to being kicked out.
Right,
you know?
right.
So anyway,
Thank you can.
It's in Indio.
Okay. Oh, did you have something else to add?
I do have a suggestion for that. It's a Riverside County thing, right?
Yeah.
If I were devising a plan for that, and you can take it for what it is, and I'm just talking up the top of my head, as so to speak, to me, this sounds like a Manny Perez thing. And I would first either call and talk about this, write, and then maybe even arrange a meeting or go up and see him and express what's going on for people there, because definitely the Board of Supervisors could do something about this in the county.
Why wouldn't Deck and one other...
Well, that's the legal solutions, but I think it's a county party, and it comes under the Riverside County Board of Supervisors. TODEC, yes, and I'm sure they're crazed over there with all the work, but I mean all the work they're doing right now. But I think if you want to turn the water on and that people don't have water, this is definitely a county issue. Yeah, that would be my suggestion.
Right.
Thank you, Joy. Yes, the gentleman in back, please.
Oh, that's Chris.
I was just going to say on the Oasis, that's been in the news quite often, and they have arsenic in the water, is why they've turned it off. And Manny has been working on this issue for quite some time, and they've done bottled water so that, you know, they at least have that kind of stuff. But it's in a huge lawsuit as well. Right. So because they failed to provide portable water in a timely manner and stuff, and we're still allowing the people to use the water that was there that was full of arsenic. So, but the delays in the legal proceedings that are going on. But if they've stopped giving the water bottles and stuff, they're okay with the drinking water. Right, because there's no connection. And I think what it's going to require is some new pipeline to get to it, and that's very expensive, and who pays for that, and, you know, all those issues that go along with it.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Linda. I took just a few notes during our discussion. I'm just going to share them with you. I'm sure I didn't get everything. But some of what I got from today is that we need to do a better job vetting our local Democratic candidates so that we don't run people with criminal records, I think, was your specific concern. Yeah. There is an app called Goods, Goods, that'll give us sort of the percentage of Republican versus Democratic money, I guess, at the support, and who to boycott and who to support. Yes, honey?
I just want to interject something. So because I use an iPhone, when I looked for the app, it was under GUU, but it came up. So, yeah, if you look under Goods, it won't be there.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Goods United. Oh.
Goods unite us. That's why it's
Goods Unite Us. Okay, so if you have an iPhone, it's GUU. Okay, great. Thank you, honey. Thank you, Barbara. Let's see. We need to be clear about what we stand for and communicate it clearly. We need to find a way to get past our fear, and that's real. I made a number of videos during the campaign, and I kind of stopped for a number of reasons. But one was I was concerned. I thought, this guy is litigation crazy. That's what he does. He sues people. And, you know, if somebody brought one of my videos to his attention, not that that would ever happen, but if it happened, you know, next thing I know, I'm in court for libel or slander, rather. And I thought, you know what? I'd have a defense, but could I have all the resources and time to defend myself against, his multi-million-dollar chest? No. And so there was a chilling effect on me. I'm not proud to admit it, but I thought, you never know with this character. So I understand the fear, Linda, and we have to find a way to get past it, because, Dr. King's house was bombed with his family in it, and he kept going. We have to find a way.
Action lawsuits.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
The Oasis Park issue, Joy gave you some really good advice on how to handle that with the county. We need to message better. So, for example, rather than always saying Trump, 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 say the Republican administration, to keep the eye on the fact that it's Republicans. It's not only Trump. Let's see, we need to tell Republicans how they will be hurt. That it's not just us that'll be hurt. They're going to be hurt as well, and we need to sort of spell out to them really clearly in what way specifically that's going to happen. For example, it's the red states in which most Medicaid recipients reside, and they are mostly poor white Americans, not just inner city people of color. We need to, this was an idea that I heard, I guess, on the Rachel Maddow show. I'm not sure. It's not my idea, but they were saying have town hall meetings. Tell your congressperson that you want them to have a town hall meeting. Although today Republicans were told to stop them because of what's been happening with them. People have been reading the Riot Act to them, and now the RNC apparently has said to the Republican representatives in the House, stop them, don't have them anymore. But at any rate, the idea that I heard was, hey, if you have a Republican congressperson representing you, which we do unfortunately, tell them, demand that you want a town meeting. And if they say no, get the Democrat from the next nearest county, or the next nearest district to have a town meeting in your district. I thought, I like that idea. Yes.
I would suggest getting a group together and having a town hall.
Yeah, I'd be right.
Have an empty chair
Yeah.
where the congressman
Absolutely.
should be. And then let other people talk on their behalf.
Love it.
And
Love it.
and then invite the media
Yep.
to come and say they won't even come to talk to us.
Right. And videotape it.
And as I said
Great
before,
idea.
stop expecting the leaders to lead us. Let's lead ourselves.
Let's
Stop
lead
it.
ourselves, have
Let's,
our own
again, we can't
Yeah.
rely on these people to show up. So we have what Chris said. Have an empty seat there. Let's not stop.
Publicly invite them
Yes.
to the town.
Yes.
Officially.
Okay, I just have that. Videotape empty chair session. Got it.
Good.
All right, and just a couple more. I already said that. The Republican Party, not Trump, and how to be an ally. How to speak up powerfully and clearly in the face of oppressive comments, anti-Semitic and racist and sexist and homophobic and misogynist comments, and also to, Republicans. So those were the few notes that I was able to get. Yes, please.
Well, I've sat on my hands through the meeting, and I just want to throw in my personal feelings where you started.
Hold the mic, please.
My personal feelings are that I was so overwhelmed. It's such a huge thing. There's so many issues, and I'm paying attention to all of them, and I'm like spinning. Okay, so I would like to offer my comment about my own feelings, which are overwhelmed, and what I've decided to do. And I do appreciate these wonderful ideas that have percolated up, and we need to do all of them and take action with all of them. Me personally, I picked two. I picked calling that fat cat stupid representative of ours every day, which I do.
Good.
And I want you to know that it is not leaving a message, so I never leave a message. They answer right away. They've hired the most lovely, that office has hired the most lovely phone people that I can, and I've made relationships with them. I'm calling you every day. I'm telling you, please. And I picked about 3 points that I say every day to Ken.
Three numbers?
No, I have 3 issues. I say,
There are 3 numbers.
oh, I only have one, whatever the one is, yeah. Anyway, I'm commenting on what I decided to do, and I'm suggesting that maybe limit something to yourself and make a commitment to a couple of the things, because just like everywhere else, we get the whole panoply of ideas, and then it just, you just get torn apart if you're trying to respond to all of them. So Ken Calvert, I always remind the staff that it isn't them, they're lovely. I don't know how they got caught up with this guy, because please remind Ken Calvert that he was in fact elected. Perhaps he doesn't remember that he was elected with a very small margin, and that now he represents everybody. And I'm one of the people that he represents, and a whole bunch of others, and I'm suggesting, you're gonna love this, I suggest to them that he could be our town hero. If he would stand up one time, he's not gonna run for office a million more times, if any. He is on his last legs as far as I'm concerned. How about going out with a ticker tape parade from all the Democrats and independents and everybody?
Right.
You know, I really work on that. So they're always saying, oh, yeah. And I said, tell me what he responds to. What does he say when you tell him this? Because of course they don't. They just are counting how many calls they get. So please, every day, call somebody. Every day, it's easy. Yes. And the other thing that I do is I want to remind us all, right now they're in the budget process. The budget process is a horror. It's the thing that tells you what the Republican administration is about and how they're kowtowing to the 2025 project agenda, and it's sickening. I mean, it'll make you just ill if you listen to them. But to remind Calvert and anybody else you're talking to, if you can get engaged with people, forget the budget part, forget the spending and the taxes and all the nonsense that's going on. Please emphasize budgets are settled at home or in the government or wherever with an income side. There's an income side and a spending side. You're not addressing one thing about the missing money that the income side could bring to the budget and start to even things out, and we'll all do better. Everybody, all the programs will look better. I'm also a part-time federal employee, so I want the federal government to be analyzed like any company, like any committee, like anything. Will stand up for if we have corruption, fraud, and abuse, has to be handled. That's minuscule. Stop talking about the spending side. Start talking only about the income side, because it's been completely ignored that we're cutting the IRS out and not holding that 1% for all the money they owe us. So pick a couple of things and stick with them every day, so that you don't get.
Sure. And thank you for that, because I don't know if it's still the case, because it was a long time ago, but I volunteered for a time in Senator Metzelbaum's office when I lived in Washington, and at that time, every phone call that they got, there was no email at the time, but every phone call and postcard that they got, they counted it as